Hello, my name is Gina, and it's one of those days where my lights don't look like they're doing anything. Good morning. I don't know if it's morning where you are, but it's morning right now, so good morning. Today I'm just going to be filming a get ready with me. We're probably going to do a little bit more of a complex eye look just because that's what I'm in the mood for today. But for the most part, we're going to just be kind of chilling. I'm going to do my makeup and kind of talk about some stuff that has been on my mind recently. So here in front of me, I have a little book of shadows. In fact, I think this is a palette from an Etsy store called Book of Shadows. I'll leave her down below. This is what we're going to be working with today. The rest of what's in here are shadows that I want to be sure to use in the next few weeks or so, so you'll probably be seeing this a lot over the next few videos. I have some vague thoughts of how I want to approach things, but I think in general, we're just going to kind of wing it and see how it goes. So I had an interesting experience the other day. I sat down with my makeup and turned on my camera and grabbed a brush and said, oh, this needs to be spot cleaned. Start spot cleaning it. As I'm cleaning it, I start talking to kind of fill the silence on camera, and then the next thing I know, it's 45 minutes later, all of my brushes have been spot cleaned and I've processed some things. Unfortunately, my camera only records for about a half an hour at a time. So by the time I came up for air, my camera had stopped recording, and the last half of what I had said just was gone. The color I just laid down was Mmanwu from the Festival palette, Juvia's Place, and now I'm going in with Lit from the Pinky Rose Bright Lights palette on a smaller brush. So basically, what happened was on last Friday. So last Friday in my world, in filming world, was the 28th of June. Oh, I'm sorry, the 28th of July. And it was technically the end of my sabbatical. I had been back in my studio working on my design portfolio for a couple of days. And because I had been back in my studio for a couple of days, some of the compacted stuff that I had been just not thinking about and not dealing with kind of unpacked a little bit, because what I was afraid of wasn't happening. I have been incredibly surprised by how much I have enjoyed doing makeup for a solid month. I was not at all prepared for how much I like it, how much, how fulfilling I have found it, and how much time it takes up. And at the end of the day, I shouldn't be that surprised that it takes up so much time, because everybody talks about how much time it takes up. But when I first started, it was I was doing 12-hour days, right? I was that's a lot of that is just part of building a process, right? That was one of my goals for this month. As I stated in my last, long get ready with me, that was one of my goals, was to see can I get processes in place where this doesn't eat my entire life? And if I can, essentially to find out how am I going to fit makeup and creating makeup content into my life, knowing that I'm, going back to work. What kind of had been happening throughout the month, and really more the last 2 weeks or so, is that I would say to myself and hear myself be oh, you got to get ready to, to go back to work. And I would feel this sense of dread. Not dread. Dread is really strong. Dread is what keeps you up at night. It was more just oh no, I don't want to think about that, right? I don't want to have to deal with that. I would not like let myself get close enough to that feeling to really understand it, because like I was so afraid of the answer to this question that I couldn't even ask it of myself, right? I couldn't even get to the point where I was like, hey, is this a thing? I was very much afraid of coming to this conclusion, like, no, I don't want to go back to being a designer. I want to do makeup content full time. Which, like, just let me pause here for a second and say, like, I am not, like, at all naive enough to say that, like, anything that has happened in the past month, like, that would indicate that I could make a living doing that. Like, I just want to be really, really clear that I am not so green as to think that, you know, doing YouTube for a month, and especially with the very, very slight growth that I've experienced, means that, you know, I'm ready to, you know, not go back to work and, you know, do full time. You know. But I need to know what I want before I can go out and try and get it. Even though, like, that question is would have been very premature, I was still very much afraid of asking it of myself, if that makes sense. So, like, I would think about having to stop, right? Having to stop doing makeup all day, every day, having to stop, like, you know, talking about makeup all day, every day, having to in some ways reset my life again to you know, come up with new processes to, you know, essentially restructure my life again. I guess, like, thinking about it now, these are the questions. It's related to all of the things that I wanted to try and figure out this month, which is, like, where does makeup fit into my life? How can I have makeup and creating makeup content have a more prominent place in my life without it taking over my life, right? And, like, that's the fundamental question. And for whatever reason, having that, like, hesitance, that reticence to stop and go back to going back to designing stuff for 8 hours a day, and, like, that feeling, that hesitance about it, like, really frightened me. Because when I would feel that sense of hesitation, I was really surprised by it, because, to be honest, I thought that I would be chomping at the bit to go back to work. I thought that I would be feeling incredibly impatient. You know, there was a part of me that suspected that this project that I started, this road that I was on, it was going to end the same way that it had before, in that I was going to realize that I didn't like making makeup content. That, you know, my original plan and purpose for the month was to design a makeup app for beginners, and I still want to do that. But, like, the idea was that is what I would be doing, and me filming YouTube content was supposed to be, like, supplemental to that, but also, like, the reason why I started filming was so that I could have video content for that app. And then it just kind of, like, got away from me, right? Like, I discovered that, like, I really, really like filming, and I really like having this super prominent place in my life for makeup. And, like, one of the things that I had started doing before this month, but definitely did in, like, a lot more, was, like, reaching out to talk to people, like, actually engaging with people on their, like, Instagram and on their YouTube. Not for my own gain, but because, like, I wanted to have makeup friends. I did not expect to say, but I really like just filming for YouTube too, because all the times that I'd tried to do that before, I'd hated it. Yeah, so was really caught by surprise and really worried. Whoa. Did you see that? Just like came right off. That's crazy. It's gonna be like where my crease is getting cut, so I'm not like super worried about it, but like I've never seen that before. So honestly, I was really worried about it. When I thought about working on my portfolio and getting back to work and all of that stuff, and I felt this sense of anxiety, this sense of like, no, I don't want to do that. I was very afraid that that meant that I didn't want to go back to work. And this is something that I only really realized in retrospect, and something that like, again, I talked myself through in that video that is now gone. Because like if you had just like come out and asked me like, do you want to give up being a designer to do YouTube? I was like, fuck no. Because I was afraid that the answer might be yes, I didn't stop and ask myself that question. And I needed to. Because the answer is no. As much as I love makeup, as much as I have been really enjoying filming for YouTube, even in the past month of being like obsessed with makeup, I'm still thinking about design. I'm still thinking about user experience. Like every time, I'm sorry to throw them under the bus, but every time I'm on like an indie makeup website, I'm just like, God, I could fix this, and I want to fix this. And like, I have like ideas in my head for like how to do a beauty e-commerce site better. And like, I have been thinking a lot about like having a series on my channel where I do like, you know, UX tips for beauty sites. But like I can't turn it off, right? I don't want to, because like one of the aspects of why this was such a frightening question is because my journey to being a designer is very like hard fought. I did not go to school to be a UX designer. My degree is in philosophy and political science. I left school kind of feeling like I really want a job that allows me to do critical thinking and analytical thinking, but also allows me to do creative work. And at the time, in 2011, which is when I graduated from college, I had no idea that UX design was a thing. It may not have been a thing. A thing that is called that name. And that's like a complicated thing in the industry. And if you're in the industry, you know what I mean. And hopefully I don't have to explain it to you. But the job that I got was half writing and editing and half design. And they needed like a social media manager and all of that good stuff. And I was like, wow, this is like the dream. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare for other reasons that we're not going to get into in this video. But I was like, okay, this is perfect because I can have a job where I wear one hat as an analytical thinker and another hat as a designer. Like, this is great. And what I realized was that that wasn't good enough. I needed to have a job, I needed to have a role where I could do analytical thinking and creative work at the same time, that I could make things that required analytical thinking to make. And then I found this agency in my city that was looking for a UX designer. And I looked up like UX stuff and I was like, oh my God. Because I would read all of these articles on like how to do UX design. And I'm just sitting here like, what are you talking about? This is just how you design things. This is just how you make things that work. Like, what do you want about? And I kind of realized that the way that I approached design was fundamentally analytical, and apparently that's different than other people who do design, and in particular web design. And I should mention, this was all while I was severely depressed. That's another part of it too, right? Because believing that you can do something when you're depressed is really hard. I'm gonna grab Peacock by JDGlow. And so just like what I was afraid of, and I realize I'm kind of rambling a little bit, what I was afraid of was that this long journey, this arduous process that I'd undergone over the past few years was about to be rendered meaningless because something shinier came along. And I was afraid that if I asked myself that question, right? If I asked myself, do you want to like pursue makeup? Let's just put away YouTube for a second. Pursue makeup full time. I was afraid that that answer was going to be yes. And that meant that everything that I had been through, everything that I had worked so hard to essentially believe that I could do was going to go out the window. And I was afraid that me being so hesitant to go back meant that I wanted to give up this dream, because it is a dream. I'm taking Anastasia's Rowdy. That might be a mistake. It's much warmer. It's a much warmer purple, and it's much darker. But it has a little bit better adhesion, so nothing for it now. So it's like that was a lot of like what I had been struggling with, and a lot of, you know, a straight up avoiding thinking about it. And when I sat down here a few days ago to film a look with the Morphe palette, I was able to finally like, you know, grapple with that question. And it was very comforting that as soon as I asked it of myself, my answer was like, no, absolutely not. And that has nothing to do with like possibility of success. It has nothing to do with any self-doubt on my end in terms of like my ability to pursue makeup. It has everything to do with what designing things brings to my life and adds to my life, and how fulfilling I find it. This is so opaque that it's actually kind of hard to blend these two. And it's coming off in the corner. I don't like it. Do not like. I think probably the best solution is to bring the purple over the teal. I'm actually gonna go into this metallic gold.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh, Lord.
It's so pretty. Gosh, that's metallic. Like, I don't know how well that picks up on camera, but like...
It's shiny as fuck.
Like, having kind of grappled with my fear of asking the question, right? You know, am I hesitating because, you know, secretly want to do design full time? Then the question becomes like, okay, why am I hesitating? What is causing this pause? And I don't have perfect answers to that yet, but I have some ideas. So one of them is like, I don't like change.
Change is hard.
You know, changing my routine here at home to work on my portfolio is a thing of change, and then just the prospect of trying to find a job is somewhat daunting. This has a lot to do with the trauma that I have experienced in the workplace. Even though I would consider myself to be recovered from that trauma, there are still some aspects of it that, you know, play into my life, and I don't think they always will, but in a lot of ways, like, I'm still very recently recovered, right? And it is understandable that movement in that area would be hard for me. In addition to that, like, they're very much related, is that, like, one of the things that I wanted to do with this month was think about what I wanted to do for my next job, what I wanted to be making, the kind of environment that I wanted to be in, like what are my priorities, all of that good stuff. At the time, did not really feel like I had done a good job of thinking about that. Since then, since kind of having that time to myself on, let's just say it was Monday. I don't think it was actually Monday, but let's just say it was Monday. I do think there are some things that I have realized over the last couple of weeks and over the last month that I would like to have in my next job, I would like to have in my next working environment. One is that I am much less set on doing like straight interactive than I was when I left creative. As bright as over there, it needs to be. Okay. When like people were asking me what I wanted to do next, I gave the answer that I wanted to move into interactive design. And I don't know if I would say that as strongly. I think that I would like to work on more complex projects, but what that does mean is somewhat up to interpretation. I think that I'm much more open to a lot more possibilities than I was at the beginning of the month. And I'm going to set a pretty wide net in my search and then kind of let the job and the role, at the risk of sounding like a hippie, speak to me. Like be really open to whatever and apply to jobs and places that excite me and projects that excite me. I'm gonna.
How fucking is it?
All of this kind of leaves like where is the channel going and what does, the next couple months of my life look like? And I don't have all of those answers yet, but I don't feel afraid of asking those questions. And that's a nice place to be. My project for the next month is to see how like fitting in makeup on either side of that works and how best to go about integrating and doing that and what that means for the content that I create and the content that I make. The only concern I have is on the flip side of it is as I get excited about going back to work, am I going to drop off doing makeup and filming and all that good stuff? So that's the next month. Since we're doing a get ready with me, I will go ahead and do my face and stuff on camera, but I wanted to like close that chapter of it while I go like wet my sponge and all that good stuff. So I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Hopefully still in frame. I'm gonna get like this crazy thing called a viewfinder and then I'll be able to tell when I'm in frame. Grabbing the this is Dr. Brandt. Apparently Dr. Brandt and Dr. Jart are different brands. I took a short, not very long, like maybe 5-10 minute break after I got my sponge wet to kind of and I was thinking about like what I wanted to say for the second half. But I guess we can talk about like what I'm hoping to do over the next couple months with my channel. I know that my big project right now is to get a series going on my big mega palettes. Nobody has asked about them, but it is a thing that whenever I post them, it does really well. Going in with the Lancome foundation, which still doesn't have enough coverage for me, but I can't stop using it. I know that I want to do content on my mega palettes because I'm kind of thinking that if I play my cards right, it might be something that does really well and helps like boost all of my things, engagement, subscribers, all that good stuff. And I have and I also just I want to talk about it. It's a project that I have worked very hard on and I think it's cool. It's not something I've ever seen. It's not something that even most depotters do. So it's a cool thing, I think, to add. I'll talk about this more in the video. So a couple of years ago when I did my first big depot, it went kind of, I don't know if I'd say viral, but it got a lot of attention, and I feel like it was this big missed opportunity for me to grow because my makeup Instagram was very much a thing, and when I got interviewed for it, I didn't ask them to put my Instagram handle in there, and it took me like a couple of days to ask. So it was like, oh, here's this cool Reddit post, and everybody saw the Reddit post and nobody like knew it was me. So it was just like a missed opportunity on a lot of fronts, and it would be kind of nice if I could recreate that. Which, yeah, look, I'm just gonna sit here and be honest. Like, yeah, I plan content around what like I think might help grow. Sorry that if being strategic about that sort of thing feels not genuine, but it's just kind of the way that it is. But it's a lot of work because there's a lot of stuff to say. It's gonna be like, I'm gonna try and coordinate it around my Instagram. When I did a repanning of my square palettes, I took a bunch of pictures. You know, those need to be edited. Like I took the pictures and then like didn't touch them, so they're just kind of sitting there. Those need to be edited, and I essentially need to like plan out everything. The whole thing, like talking about it, is like a whole project in and of itself. Like it will be 3 videos, possibly more. I mean, like, I'm going to be continually talking about my big palettes on the channel, but like just the original like explanation of everything will be 3 videos. And there's gonna be a shit ton of posts about it. Shit. Sorry, I need to bake where my glasses sit. Like, I knew that it was a thing, but I didn't realize like it was like an immediate thing where immediately as soon as I put my glasses on my face, it's like eating the makeup that's there.
Fuck you, glasses.
So when I took pictures of the square pan palettes that I repanned, I took a picture of, it was just a phone picture of the original palette, the shades lined out in the order of the palette, and then I swatched them. Like it was not easy to get those pictures. And so I want to post those, and I want to talk about all of that. And like, it's just a lot. It's a lot of content. It's a lot to cover, and it needs to be done before I do too much more on my channel, because I think like a lot of the branding around my channel is going to be about extreme efficiency, for lack of a better word. There are all sorts of ways that you can engage with makeup, right? If you are engaging with makeup as an artist, as a creative person, this might be a workflow that works for you, because that is how I engage with makeup. Like, a lot of my channel, a lot of my brand around the channel is going to not center, but it matters. It's important. It's a very different way of approaching makeup, and it's a very different way of approaching eyeshadow. It's, I think, a unique thing. I think it's good content, and before I do too much more with them, because I've been doing some palette reviews and stuff, I need to take some time to explain what it is and why I did it the way that I did. Plus, you know,
Bitches love rainbows.
and I'm excited about it. I like talking about my fucking big giant palettes. I think they're awesome. And like, I also need to do it because one of the things that I will talk about hopefully within the next couple of days on the channel, like from the time of you watching, is that I am about to acquire over 100 new eyeshadows. The Cleona sale and the Sydney Grace sale both like fucking killed me. That's gonna necessitate like a change to my palettes. I need to film the footage with my palettes intact the way they are now before I can start that process. So it's like just kind of like backed up. I'm gonna get my floof. We're using the same shadows on the lower lash line.
Where's my floof?
And just with the purple, sorry, with the purple. One of the things that I didn't say in like part 1 of this was that I'm just like teeming with ideas. I really have just really enjoyed filming makeup videos, and like that enjoyment has like led to like this burst of creativity, right? Where like I'm just like,
Yes, and then I want to make this, and then I want to make this, and then I want to make this.
Some of like the palette videos are in some ways kind of like housekeeping stuff that I need to like get done before I can do like some of the more creative stuff. I was watching Nerdy Girl Makeup do the nerdy makeup tag, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And then I realized, like, if you watched my channel from my first video to this one, like, you would have no idea that I'm a gigantic nerd. And so I was like, fuck yeah, I want to include some of my nerdy self in my makeup videos. Like, yes. And so I was thinking about how to do that, and the season 4 of My Hero Academia comes out in October, and so I want to do like makeup looks for how, you know, X number of like my favorite characters leading up to the release. And I've just been thinking, I've been churning a lot on like what I want to do and like things I need to practice. I don't know her real name. I just realized I don't know Nerdy Girl Makeup's real name, but her name, whoever she is, she mentioned doing Harry Potter makeup looks, which isn't that like unique, but like I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll do Harry Potter makeup looks. Totally want to do that. And just like integrating some of that too, because a lot of how I express my fandom is obsessive research and fan art. Since I'm not doing traditional art right now, which is sad, I was thinking about like how I wanted to do fan art, like how I could incorporate fan art into my, basically makeup as fan art. That's what I'm going for here, and I'm very excited for that. The challenge is, how do I do stuff like that while not doing makeup full time? Because doing looks like that is like, it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
It's fucking art.
Like, it takes a lot of time. Let's say I decide to do Hiroaka looks every day for a week leading up to the release of season 4. That's 7 days where I'm doing makeup and filming makeup, where I can't put it on Instagram, I can't put the video up. And I also, because especially those looks in particular will be so obnoxious, I also wouldn't be able to film something like just talking afterwards, because it'll be like,
What the fuck is on your face?
There's that challenge of it. There's also the challenge that, like, because they take up so much time, when I do go back to work, I'm not gonna, like, I would not be able to like get up in the morning and do that and then go to work. So it would basically be like, I'd have to film it probably at night, or film several of them in a row on one day, which is really hard on my skin. So that's a lot of like what I'm thinking about in terms of like how to make that kind of content without, you know, sacrificing the upload schedule, which apparently is a thing. So I don't have answers to that yet, but I do want to make that content, and I'm very excited about making that content. Luckily, I have some time to think about how to do it, and it might be a thing where like I have to, you know, take a weekend, do 3 looks a day, kill my skin, and then for the next week, we do like softer makeup, more casual makeup. I don't know, we'll see. I wish my skin was not quite as sensitive, but ever since the incident where my skin freaked out, maybe I'll put a picture in here, my face in particular has been very, very sensitive to like everything. Like when I put on powder with that brush, it was like,
I don't like you.
I've been experimenting with different brushes for different things. Okay, I failed to set my timer for 30 minutes, so my thing died, but not a ton has happened. I finished my contour. I talked a little bit about like videos that I was excited about. Unfortunately, my battery's also about to die, so I need to take another break before we bring all of this home. All right, so apparently I have 13% battery left. I should let it charge for longer, but I'm feeling very impatient, so we're just gonna move on forward and we're gonna do our best. We're gonna do the inner corner. I'm gonna use Chartreuse from JDGlow, which is a Chartreuse. This is the first time I've used this on my eye. I really like that color here. So I'm gonna bring that up a bit as I do. If I ever did a brand collab, I think it would be making decorative 10x mirrors. Really nice ones, like lighted ones. I'm gonna go into Cleopatra's crown and take that just right in the inner corner here. As you can see, it's not like fully opaque, but they do add a kind of indescribable bit of texture and color. So for this one in particular, it's great because I can add some shine here without taking away from the impact of the green that's underneath it. I'm gonna take that same brush back into that Chartreuse. The Chartreuse is a shimmer shadow, so you shouldn't expect a ton of reflect from it. Buff it out a bit and call that good. I'm actually pretty happy with the way the eyeshadow looks. I like the way it has turned out. As you see, I put on my lip color. The only thing really left to do is liner and lashes, so I will be back to show you the final look. Thanks for hanging out and listening about stuff going on in my life. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you have any ideas for future videos that you'd want me to see, particularly nerdy videos, let me know. If you like me and my flowing red hair, also subscribe to the channel. I upload on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for the foreseeable future. You can find me elsewhere on the internet at Faces by Gina. I have an Instagram and a Facebook under that name as well. I post content there every day, and you'll get to see looks on there that you're not going to see on my channel, so there's a good reason to come join the fun. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Please remember to think deeply and engage the world around you as you're being good to yourself and good to other people. I will see you out there on the internet.